being wanted, half of the deviation is solved. I will not talk more about this because I'm waiting to hear from Dr. Parthiban. It's a joy to have you over here again, sir. I remember about 5 years back, you had addressed us in live, and now we are meeting on the virtual front. But extremely privileged and happy to have you here. And I will have my student counselor, Supraja, to handle the entire talk for us. So, Supraja, thank you so much for agreeing for this. And I will now leave the floor to Supraja and Dr. Parthiban to showcase and explain to us how this entire thing called autism actually affects us, or to remove the myths that surround the word and the actions or the deeds of autism. Supraja, over to you. And Dr. Parthiban, thank you once again from all of us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Happy morning to everyone. With immense pleasure, I would like to welcome our speaker, Dr. P.K. Parthiban, BS MS, Bachelor of Siddha Medicine and Surgery from Dr. MGR Medical University of Chennai. He is the director of Swabiman Holistic Solution for Autism, Chennai. Swabiman is an organization which caters to health and educational needs of children with autism. It has an integrated treatment module which is based on the Indian system of medicine, including Siddha, Ayurveda, and Yoga. Dr. Parthiban is the recipient of Best Doctor Award 2012 by the Tamil Nadu and Dr. MGR University. He has gained popularity through publications and appearances in media in the field of autism. Dr. Parthiban renders his noble services not only to India but as well as Malaysia. And with great honor, I would like to invite him. And sir, I would like to begin with a question. So my first question is, what is autism and what are the characteristics of autism?
Thank you very much for having me here. My special thanks to Principal Ma'am. She is always very kind to all of us. Thank you very much, Supraja, for this opportunity. Getting back to the question which you have put on me, what is autism? There is no shortcut answer for this question. So we all assume something when we talk about or when we hear about a term called autism. Like maybe a couple of years before, in Karachi, the largest city in Pakistan, there was like the whole of the government schools and the private school, there was a research done with the teachers. Around like 240 teachers participated, how they all came to know about autism and what autism is. So the research outcome is very, very different actually. Only 7% of the teachers, they have understood autism through formal trainings like training programs, workshops, and so on. 58% of teachers came to know about autism through media, especially through movies. So what media portrays about autism is something which we have to ponder now actually. So it's like highly stereotypical things, that is what media, in terms of those days, the old movie called as Rain Man, which portrayed about autism. A couple of Tamil movies like Ram and Haridas recently, like few years before, they portrayed about autism. So I always say this to whoever I talk to, when we know a child with autism, we only know about one child with autism. So autism is such a divergent spectrum. So when we discuss about autism, what we have to be very clear is autism could be something more than what we all know. So that is what I would like to emphasize by answering to your question. So conventionally, what is autism means? Autism is a neurodevelopmental disorders which affect children with under 3 years predominantly. So usually the child is born with autism, and the symptoms of autism manifest around the age of 1.5 to 3 year old. By 3.5, almost lion's share of the children with autism are being diagnosed. So the catch points, the symptoms, what we see, like to pick children with autism is like most of the children will lack eye contact. So especially for the children, and then there won't be any response to name calling. That is the key thing where the parents or the teachers reports to the people who can diagnose medically, be it psychologist or be it a medical doctor like a pediatrician. So the two things is, one is lack of eye contact, and the other thing is not responding to the name calling. The other very important thing, which any janitors, like school drivers, anyone can pick is they have very, very limited speech skills. Some children remain mute, if there is no intervention is happening. So lack of speech is one triad, one part of the triad. The other part of the triad is not mingling with children on their peer group. Children with autism are usually very comfortable with the older children or the older parents, uncles, aunts, neighbors, the teachers, especially they're very comfortable with. But whom they are not comfortable with is their peers of their similar age. And then the third triad part is most of the children with autism have some behavioral issues. That is what we call colloquially. It's like hand flapping or jumping or making some noise. But by looking at them, can we say whether they are autistic or not? No, we cannot say, because they all look like as handsome as any other kid. But only observing them for some time will lead us to some sort of doubt, which may lead to a diagnosis. So when you talk about autism, why are we talking about autism? Because tomorrow is the World Autism Awareness Day, April 2nd. And the whole of April month is the Autism Awareness Month. So why there are so many developmental disabilities, like there is Down syndrome, there is cerebral palsy, there are other neurodivergent conditions which affect children. But why there is so much of speciality given to autism is because it's on alarming rise. 15 years before, like 4 children out of 10,000 was autistic. Now every 100 we have 3.5 children who is autistic. So there is an alarming rise in the general population. So that is the reason WHO has announced a day called as World Autism Awareness Day, WAAD, and we have been observing it for the past 12 years, from 2008. And the concept for last year is usually, people talk about autism in terms of diagnosis, in terms of access for the early intervention services like speech therapy, occupational therapy. And then there was a year where the message was about inclusive education. And last year, it was about bridging the children to the adolescents. Because like when 2008, the children diagnosed when are all become like teenagers now, adolescents now. So we also have to improve our capacity building, service providing for the children who are not very small, but also to the teenagers. So that is where we are now.
Dr. Supraja, please excuse me for a moment. We are very happy to welcome our Dean Academics, Mr. Johnson Matthew. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. I think sir's trying to unmute. Dr. Parthiban, before we have Johnson sir talk to us, I have a question before Supraja could take the conversation further. What attracted you or what made you to go into this very, very strange and different field of dealing with autism?
Okay. So like when I was doing my internship in my undergraduate medicine, so I had to work to cover up few things. So I was working in an ENT hospital where most of the children and their parents will turn up. The reason is when the child is not able to speak, parents usually assume whether the child is not able to hear or not. So that is the first doubt which comes into the parents' minds. So when I was working in the ENT hospital, like I was actually allowed, to work with them, the children with special needs, especially autism. When we tried this yoga and basically some dietary modifications and simple behavior technologies to them, so we could see a sea of change in their development. So then I thought I should pursue my higher education in this, and there is no turning back after that. I did my post graduation in children with autism. So that is how it's all begun. Yes.
That's really good, sir. So moving on to the next question. So I would like to know, what is the onset age of this condition, this particular condition? What is the onset age?
Okay. So there is nothing is written in stone. It's very fluid. The condition is very much evolving, and when the child is very young. So as of now, the past 3 or 4 years, we can pick up children as early as 6 months. Whether we can screen them for autism. But medically, as per the diagnostic tools, what we have, at least for Indian standards, you can only diagnose them at the age of 36 months. So there is a tool called as ISAA, Indian Scale for Autism Assessment. So it has like different sets of questions, around 18 questions in 3 areas. The child is positive for those questions, then you can name them as that they are in the autism spectrum. Before 2012, the situation was very different. We used to do something called as CARS, Childhood Autism Rating Scale. It's in the Western Psychological Services. That was a universal tool actually. But now after 2012, we have a culturally specific Indianized tool to diagnose according to our standards. Yeah.
So from whatever you were saying that, they can be diagnosed from such a young age. So as they grow up, they're going to go into schooling. So with respect to schooling and education, how can teachers play a role in assisting children with autism?
I think this is going to be a topic for today, right? Since I'm interacting with mostly the teachers, because I always say, teachers are not the first respondents in terms of the society, but when it comes to the school, they are the first and only respondents to the children, be them autism or not, because they take care of all the children under their wings, and then they nurture them, they nourish them. So what happens, since I'm also working with teachers for the past 10 years very closely in India and Singapore and Malaysia. So what I observe the difference between the Western countries and India is in the Western countries, children with autism and the neurotypical children, so-called normal children, they all go to the same school. In India, that is still not there actually. We have something called as special schools, and most of the children with autism, they cannot go to a regular schooling. So that is one reason, like I always feel most of the children in the mainstream schools, somehow, they are not exposed to working with children with autism. But there is an organization called as Autism Speaks. That's the largest NGO in the world in consultative status with WHO. What they say is, it's been like not a one year studies, like past 15 years they have studied. Only mainstreaming education at their young age can help children with autism, not isolating them and educating them. So that is what the thing. So when provided stated this truth, the scientific truth, the key thing is how do we include teachers in the mission of having children with autism in the big schools, normal schools, the mainstream schools. The first thing is, I would always say, start something like in a very, very low quantity of children, like one child in a class, not many children in a classroom. That is one thing. So what happens is, once you do that, the first step the parents, the teacher should take is take some little extra efforts. I know it is not possible for the teachers to do justice to a child with special needs and a lot of number of neurotypical children at the same time. But what I would say is, even if you make like 1 point of inclusion, that is going to make a impact on the child's development. For example, I always say, there is a child with special needs. What we can do is we can ask them to sit in the first bench, so that child will be constantly attended. There is another clue which I always say when we do all these trainings is like, when the teacher says, all the children please get up, or like all the children please sit down, there is like a 1 point instruction for all the children they give. But for child with autism, that is not going to be a very complaint driven. The child expects the child should be addressed separately. All the children please get up, Ashwin please get up, that is going to make a big difference. So things like this. And then the other child is like, I'm sure like inclusion is going to be much more easier now than before, because now all the classrooms are having this audio visual facilities. Children with autism, they are, rather than the human voice, they are very responsive to the audio visual tools. Actually, there is a video teaching, there is audio coming, they are much more attentive. That is one thing. The other thing is, like, I always request the teachers to have a very close relationship with the parents of the child with special needs. So from them we can learn a lot. Parents, siblings, driver, because they are the one, they are facing them for a day in and day out. With them, we can know a lot of changes actually. And there is another thing, important thing, which I would like to tell teachers is like, don't think like, it is like an extra work only for you actually. You can actually delegate it to the other children in the classrooms. They do it so well. So creating some room for where the child with autism or with any special needs and the children or neurotypical can interact with themselves. And then the other point to keep in mind is, we'll not take it as like completely very stressful experience. Even one benefit if the child can get from the class, that is enough. I'm sure parents are not even expecting the child should read, because special needs, autism especially, it is a disability. much more than the challenges of having only the cognitive delay. Delay is not only with the academics, in terms of academics. Delay is in terms of uh, other other activities, like mingling with children, developing a friendship with them, developing a conversation with them, developing eye contact with them, and a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance. They lack in all these areas. If a school can give at least one or two of inputs of all these concerns, and that is enough. And there is a recent study which tells you a fantastic truth to all of us. What it says is, there is a child in with autism in one class, and there are like 20 other children who are not with autism. So the study is about who is going to benefit most in this setup. What is the truth is, all the other 20 children are going to get more benefits than a child with autism. The reason is they know how to be compassionate with other human being, how to be of helpful to other person, how to involve them, how to make people belong to us. So these are the high order human values the other children are able to get. So that is why the WHO says, at least one child with special needs in the classroom can make a big difference in the whole of humankind.
So it is like, the neurotypical and the other each complement each other, if I can say that, doctor.
Exactly.
But I have a question at this point, doctor. So you mean to say every one of our teachers must be well equipped to handle a child with autism or any kind of a learning disorder? So it's very important that a teacher undergoes a training or is well equipped to handle all kinds of children for us to bring this kind of an empathetic environment.
Absolutely, ma'am. Absolutely, that will make a change, because I would say, for the out of every 100 human beings, or every 100 children in India, 8.5 children have any form of disability, be it autism or cerebral palsy or dyslexia, dyscalculia, any form of disability, developmental delay. Can we afford to leave this 8.5% of population behind? We cannot actually. So, and then it is not that you cannot do anything with them. What science says is, like, most of the children with autism has some sort of abilities which is very, very helpful for the mankind. For example, we all know this girl, this climate and environmental activist, Greta Thunberg, Swedish. She is a high functioning autistic girl. She's an Asperger's syndrome, and see what type of impact she could give to this whole world. At one point of time, she was against Donald Trump, the ex-president of USA, in some challenges. So, children with autism does have such types of abilities which can be used, which can be added as an advantage to the wellness of the whole of the mankind, actually.
Like you said, sir, when you have children, typically developing children and autistic children, you can see a lot of empathy in the other population, and like how you said, they'll be very passionate towards the autistic children. So moving on to the next question, I would like to ask you, how does yoga and Siddha treatment play a role in benefiting these individuals?
See, coming to the medical aspect, the treatment aspect, we have to recognize and we have to accept children with autism have medical issues. So it is not just a behavioral problem, but it's also a medical problem. So I would say 1/3 of children with autism have neurological illnesses like seizures, epilepsy fits, and then children with autism have speech delay where they need some sort of inputs. And most of the children with autism does have problems in terms of sleeping. Few children with autism, they sleep with sleeping pills every day. If they don't sleep in the night, the next day is going to be very challenging, not just for the child, but for also the service providers like the teachers, the therapists, everyone, also the parents. And along with this, most of the children with autism, I would say 8 out of 10 children with autism does have a lot of gut issues. We say gut-brain relationship. So most of the neurotransmitters, the hormones which works in the brain, are secreted in the stomach, in the gut. The child is not going to have a good gut. The brain functioning, the neurological functioning is going to get a hit. So that is what happening with most of the children with autism. This is one area. The other important medical concern is the sensory issues. So we all operate on the base of our 5 senses: eyes, nose, sense of taste, tongue, ear, and then the sense of touch, the skin. So all these sensory organs gives us, like, I'm speaking to you now because I'm seeing you, I can listen to you, my eyes and my ears are giving me inputs. How do I process your questions, and then answers coming out of my mouth. That is how we all of us are functioning, right? But for child with autism, the sensory organs does not give the realistic pictures because of overload. So for a child with autism, if I'm seeing like light all over the place, it could be very overwhelming. The child is autism, if they goes to a place where a lot of people, lot of noises, it could be very much overwhelming for them. So that is one of the reasons which is preventing them from being in a very quiet position in a normal classroom, where all the children will be very happy and sharing with each other, talking with each other. This poor child will be plugging his ears or screaming in a room, called a sensory overload. The sensory overload can be addressed by like auditory integration training, or there are some glasses for them to train them, to tolerate these lights and noises. So once these basic sensory issues are addressed, I'm sure, like, they are like you and me, they can thrive with challenges. Most of the children with autism, they do behavioral problems they get into because they don't like mundane routine things. So only if the classroom is challenging, they are going to be quiet, and then we complain with the teachers and the peers. The teacher is going to teach something which they already know, then they are not going to sit quiet. They're going to disturb the others. So that is one of the reason I always say all the children with autism, they are not a homogeneous group. It's a heterogeneous group. So nowadays, like, we talk about neurodivergence, people who are having different neurological capacity. So in that way, autism is one group where among the same group, there is so many people who have different neurological capacity. So for them, the one thing is seizures, gut problems, sensory problems. Once we address all these medical problems, they're going to really do well. I call them as, I always analogy with diabetes mellitus. So most of the population above 40 in India, which is the diabetic capital of the world, we all have diabetes here. But what is making diabetes more threatful or dreadful is like the comorbidities, like renal kidney problems, uh, heart problems associated with the diabetes, and hypertension, blood pressure associated with diabetes, eye problem associated with the diabetes. These are the comorbidities, coexisting conditions, which makes diabetes very scary as such. The same thing applies to autism too. The child is having a proper help for the comorbidities like seizures, gut issues, sensory issues. The child is really, really going to carry themselves, learn, grow very well. So for this alleviation of these illnesses, coexisting illnesses associated with autism, what we need is like, streamlining them with certain therapies like occupational therapy, yoga especially. Yoga can be a fantastic sensory modification technique actually. And it is like one-on-one, so that they don't have to deal with a big group. There is not much of stress involved. Along with that, it is something indoors. You don't have, because most of the kids with autism hate sweating. They don't like sweat. They cannot tolerate hunger. The child is screaming, we have to think about two things. One, the child is hungry or thirsty, and then is it too hot? So these are the issues which should pop up in our mind first. So it's not an outdoor sports. Outdoor sports they like, but not in the too hot sun, maybe in the morning and the evenings. But yoga provides an alternative to the outdoor sports, and it gives a lot of sensory modification, sensory nourishments, neurological toning. And in terms of Siddha medicine, that is fantastic for treating the gut problems in children, be it indigestion, be it absorption illnesses, uh, or be it constipation, which most of the kids suffers because of they have very selective eating pattern. It is not that they eat like we eat vegetables, we eat fruits, we consume cereals, nuts, oils, fats. We have a balanced diet which we thrive on. But most of the kids with autism, they are very picky eaters because of the sensory problems. They don't like to touch certain food items because if it's sticky. They don't like to smell few foods which they don't like, and they don't like to taste some tastes. They try to avoid. Most of the kids with autism, they eat only like very dry foods like dosa, chapati, or cookies, and so they don't eat like rice and curry and vegetables like us. So for them, we have to be We have to train them to do that actually. Once the sensory issues are being addressed and once they start having the proper meals and food like you and me, and these nutritional vulnerabilities are not going to be there. So for these things, Siddha is going to be of very helpful. And then Ayurvedic therapies like oil massages, Abhyangam, Shirodhara, these are the therapies are going to be of very, very helpful in dealing with their anxiety. I would say anxiety is a key part of autism management, anxiety management. What is going to come next? That is one question which will be very much haunting them actually. So I always say preparation. So in our place, what we use is we use a technology called as VR, virtual reality. So if the child is going somewhere else, for example, the child wants to go to a park. In park, there'll be a lot of children playing. There'll be a lot of people around, and the child cannot expect or entitled to a slide or whatever the right the child wants to do. So what we do is a virtual reality screening will just introduce to the child. In that, there will be a complete virtual things will be happening. How the park will be, the trees will be, the seating platforms will be, all these rides will be taking turns for the playing the rides. Once you prepare them, the anxiety goes down. So that the key thing is preparing them. So the same apply for us also, like for the doctors and teachers. Once we prepare them, the next class is going to be the max class, and this is a teacher who will be joining you. If there is a preparation and no anxiety attacks, we call it as transition difficulties. Changing from one thing to another can be very stressful for a child with autism, and not for autism alone, for ADHD, hyperactive kids also. So I always say preparing the child will be of a fantastic thing. So this way, like yoga, Siddha, Ayurvedic massages, sports activities especially can be very helpful in reducing their physical problems, which is coexisting along with the diagnosis.
You've beautifully explained the whole concept of how yoga and Siddha medicine help and benefit the children with autism. So along with this, I would like to ask you, how can we create awareness among about autism among the other children and adults? Because a lot of people, like you said, don't know about autism. They might just think it's a disorder, or they might not know the detailed information about it. So how can we create awareness about autism?
Exactly. So that is this day is about, this month is about autism awareness, right? So who will be the first person? Like I always say, talk to children and talk to them about the acceptance, and they will take it for another 50-60 years. So that is where, like, we always talk about mainstreaming them so that other children will know them. Children will become adults and they'll be a CEO of a company, so they'll include people with autism in their companies. So that is how the growth has happened so far. The people who are connected with them has taken it about. I always say talk to children in a very, very playful way, and not like a stereotypic thing like how media portrays them. Either media portrays they'll be a murderers, or they'll be like a very intelligent people, which both are not right. Autism is a spectrum, So out of, in this meeting, we have 75 participants in this meeting. I would say, like, out of the 75, maybe 1% or 2% will be very intelligent people. We don't know. Rest of us are common people like you and me, like normal intelligence, who we can just survive in this world and things like that. The same thing applies to autism spectrum also. Out of 100 children with autism, only 1 or 2 children will be like very intelligent, like 7C, hyper intelligent, ultra intelligent people. Rest all will be like us. So then, if you only talk about people who are very intelligent, that 98% will be left out. So I always say, like, don't expect for special talent in children with autism, but expect for, like, what we can give to them, and making sure that they are also very much part of this society, and then help them whenever they need. I agree, like in a mainstream school, you cannot include them for all the subject classes, but at least for physical education classes, lunchtime, interval time, or moral instruction classes, art classes, music classes, sports time. These areas we can start inclusive things to start with, at least. That will ensure the children, other children also don't get too much of burden beyond their age. So I always feel inclusion should start from one step at a time. And not, I always feel if you give them too much of information also, people will take a step back. Oh, that will be too much for people actually. always say give them one points and then start inclusion at one, small grades, and then take it up further. So that will be of good thing. And always talk about not only to the children but also to the school bus drivers, the gardeners, the janitors. If you train them, and that help will come for a very long time actually. Otherwise, it will become a very, very big thing for the teachers to manage everything on herself or himself. So if you set up a system, the whole school network has to be sensitized. In that way, the awareness goes beyond the school too, because they take it to wherever they go. So the training should be part of the everyone concerned, not just to the teachers and the peers.
True, sir. Like you said, everybody present in the school should be aware of the whole condition and what are the characteristics of the condition. So with respect to autism, are there any support system that can cater to individuals with autism during adolescence? Like how you spoke about the transition period into teens and adolescence. Are there any support system to cater to these individuals in Chennai?
Okay, at Swabipan, we have a separate clinic where we focus only on people in adolescence. I always say this word, when autism and adolescence is an evil duet, it doesn't go well. Because children with autism, how the usual adolescents will be, most of the adolescents will be with friends, right? They don't like to be with the siblings or with the parents most of the time. They'll be hanging out with most of them with the friends actually. That is a main difference in autism. Children with autism don't have friends. So how is that, they are going to cope up with their adolescence or their jumping hormones, which will be longing them for the identity crisis. Like, every teenager will be with, they wanted to prove their point in their home. Like, they always say like, why did you take the decision without asking me? Because they wanted to prove their identity. Teenager, 11 years, 12 years onwards. So children with autism also undergo such identity crisis. But the poor thing is they have to handle it all alone because they don't have friends. And the hormones in the body, the newly flowing hormones in the body is not allowing them things right. They have to deal with the physical changes. And what happens if the hormones is like very active and there is no enough physical activities? That is where they end up with having more of seizures kind of problems. So what I always say is handling autism or working with teenagers in autism will need more empathetic approach. I would say three things. One is make them to play more in terms of sports, channelize their energy so that there will be less anger, less aggression. Other one is focus more on the relaxation activities like soaked baths, having bathtub or oil massages, and these things. And the third one is leisure skills. Mingling with other children, other teenagers are going to be very different because there will be a sea of change in terms of emotional and intellectual maturity, in terms of comparing a child with autism, a child without autism, a neurotypical. In terms teenage, in that these days, the teenagers are starting talking about startups. But a child with autism will not be nowhere close to that actually. So I always say create a leisure skill, be it gardening, be it any art working or creating a music, because they all are good with any type of artworks, at least one. So one is make them more get diverted to the sports activities. If the sports activities in terms of group activities are going to be difficult like football, then make them focus on solo activities like skating, cycling, swimming, jogging, such activities. And the second one is relaxation activities. Third one is leisure skills. If they have more leisure skill, that will be very stress free for themselves and for the parents too.
So you've beautifully explained how we can inculcate different activities and different skills and tools to in their life so that they can develop. So with this, I think
In fact, Supraja, I feel after listening to Dr. Parthiban, we have more confidence now to teach and educate children with autism. We feel we are very well equipped, and maybe with a little assistance and guidance from elite people like Dr. Parthiban, I'm sure we'll be able to have these children in our class and give them the identity that they look for, right? Honestly, sir, it's really revealing, and at the same time, we feel quite good about ourselves that we're in a position to handle all kinds of children. And at the end, as I said, it's love and affection that matters, to make
Exactly.
them feel wanted in the world. They're a part of us, right? I think, and Supraja had a few more questions coming from teachers also. So Supraja, let's get going. A lot of teachers, I think, want to ask a lot of questions. However, simple or complicated they are, I'm sure Dr. Parthiban will address all those questions to us. So Supraja, over to you and all the teachers.
Yes, sir. So if there's any teacher who's willing to ask any question, you can put it in the chat. So, yes. You're on mute, ma'am. Ma'am, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I said, as the teachers are getting ready to, ask you questions, I was just wondering if there were any particular cases or real-time stories which you could relate to us as to how you handle children with, autism or any kind of learning disorder.
Maybe I can actually share a lot of case stories. So maybe I can just start with one boy. We can just call him as Arjun. That's his name, and he is a boy with very few autistic characters, but his real personality itself is very hyper. He's full of energy. He's like an energy ball. He was only 3 year old. So like, and then no school was willing to have him because, like, if the teacher wants to have him, the teacher does not have the resources to take care of the other children. So that is a genuine difficulty on the teacher's part. So what we inform the teacher is, like, just give us some 3 months time. We will work with his understanding, and then put him into a lot of trainings in terms of controlling his movements. So he's a very hyperkinetic kid. He's a movement seeker. And then what we did is we taught them yoga. We taught them a lot of small ball passing and impact gamings like that. And then we gave him some medications to fix his constipation, and we did some Ayurvedic massages also for him. And what happened, 2.5 3 months time, he has slightly mellowed down, and then he started listening, and then was very good in receiving things. And then he went to the school assessment again. The school was willing to help him or try him for next 3 months. And what happened in 2 years' time? Now he's in the second standard. He's a class topper. He speaks like anyone or better than anyone else, actually. And that this boy Arjun is like very famous in the whole school. But I would sincerely thank the principal who was instrumental in taking him for a small try for 3 months' time. If she has not given that opportunity to Arjun, I'm sure he's still not where he is now, actually. And what happened after seeing Arjun, we had like at least 12 or 13 boys referred from that school. Whoever comes to admission, the principal just calls us and refer them here, and then we will, we work as a team now, actually. So I always say this, like, one small opportunity for a deserving candidate can makes a big difference in their lives, actually.
Indeed, it does, sir. It does.
Yes.
When I listened to you, I remember a few years back when I was working, we had this child who didn't like noise. Even in class, he would put his fingers in his ears and he listened. And it was so sweet, or rather so comforting to see all his classmates and everybody at school. We knew that, that child did not like, he couldn't take noise. Otherwise, a very normal, a very sweet child. He wouldn't talk much. His academic reports were excellent, but he couldn't take noise. So he would always have his fingers into his ears. And, his classmates, even without us telling, understood the situation. They would be so quiet when he was around. And last year, when he passed out of his 12th standard, he was a top scorer in the entire school. What I'm trying to say is, in the beginning, when you mentioned that, children tend to empathize more than us elders. They tend to understand the situation better than us, even without we explaining to them. So promptly when you spoke about Arjun, I remember this child all through his middle years and his school, his senior school, he actually didn't like noise. And even early morning also, he would go around with his hands plugged into his ears. But in the end, when he knew that he was wanted, when he knew that, he was a part of the school and his friends liked him, loved him for what he is, he made it big. And you should see the comfort and, the sense of consolation and confidence the mother had. So I'm just adding on to what Dr. Parthiban said. And Dr. Parthiban, I think the questions popping up everywhere. Supraja, please take up the first one coming.
So there's a question from one of the teachers. So, and I can see a lot of people raising hands for asking questions. So is it possible to make them feel like a normal child, or do we have any medication for this apart from yoga and leisure activities?
Okay. So I mean, we are not even contemplating to make them a normal child. Actually, we are only contemplating to make them a functional child. So this world will be a better place if we recognize all the neurodivergencies. See, for example, in a school, if all the children are only speaking Tamil, then where is a opportunity to learn other languages? So we all expect in a cosmopolitan environment these days, right? A company, an organization, we all need a cosmopolitan environment. The same way, these neurodivergencies will ensure everybody is being addressed and everybody grow together from their comfort zones. So we don't even contemplate to make them normal, but the aim is to make them functional. And of course, by making them functional, there will be a lot of improvements for the whole community actually. So we are not here to make them normal. There is no normal in the world actually. Everyone have their own challenges to grow out from.
Good morning, doctor. Yes, I'm Beena from Karapakam branch. Like once one parent asked me that if autism child can be put for a higher secondary in normal school, or he should be sent some NIOS kind of education for CBSE or
Okay.
board syllabus.
See, it depends, ma'am. Like I always say, around 40% of children with autism, they have normal IQ and their ability to cope with academics is like normal, like any child. So they can certainly pursue or give exams in terms of CBSE or IB or whatever curriculum they follow. But for some children, if they wanted to take it little slow, they can go with, they can do the proper schooling in your school or whoever school. But for exams, they can go for NIOS. So that is happening in Mumbai, in Bangalore, many schools are doing it. Children with autism study along with their peers. Just for exams, they go to the NIOS or RIOS, a Rural Institute of Open Schooling, and then they take exams. They take exams like 2 exams first and then 3 exams next. They take it according to their convenience. So it'll be good if schools can encourage that also according to the parents.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Another question from one of the participants. Can children outgrow autism? Will he become normal child once he was given a proper treatment?
Okay. So again, I would like to very humbly tell the teacher, a child with autism is going to be an adult with autism. Autism is not going to go away anywhere in between. But what we can trust on is once their comorbid problems are properly addressed, they are going to be like you and me. They can live with the society in a very, very normal way if they are supported enough. I mean, autism cannot be cured. It can be supported and then the full potential can be unlocked. So that is possible for sure.
Thank you, Doctor. We have our Dean Academics, Mr. Johnson Matthew here. So would you like to converse with Dr. Parthiban?
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, Dr. Parthiban.
Good morning.
So happy when this week when we have earmarked for autism children throughout the world. Our organization, Hindustan International School, we made it a point that in all schools, right, we thought that this awareness campaign, and I'm so grateful to principal for arranging this lecture with you, sir. So happy to convey to you that you have accepted readily to be with us. And Parthiban sir, you should know that this is a time where our teachers in all the 3 schools, almost they finalized the first term, complete academic work and getting ready for the second term. So you'll find that a small break, a wonderful time for them to ponder upon this particular thought. It is a general feeling, sir, you will agree, and all my teachers also, when it comes to private schools, like a government school, private schools have last priority to take autism children, because everything is competition, and they want to make all their achievements in their advertisement, and to ensure that nothing goes below a particular benchmark. The net result is such children are the worst affected. Let us take the other extreme, government school. There is no discrimination, right? Once you have the age limit, if you have age certificate, without much checking, children are admitted. Later they find, and if children of autism or learning disability are noted, they are the one who are very badly affected in the class. Nobody bothers. Entry is easy in a government school, but totally they are neglected later. This I am able to see because I had worked for a long time in government. And now this is a time where I am working for private. But our Hindustan International School is a different school altogether. For your kind information, sir, we never discriminate. At the time of admission, if we see that our children have learning disability, we very well inform the parent, because we have our own testing pattern. After the testing part is over, if there is any iota of symptom, we share this with the parent, and very willingly we say that we shoulder the responsibility. Don't worry, we will give admission to such children. We need their cooperation. So therefore, entry for autism children in our campus is free. We never say no. In fact, in all classes, you will find one or two with this, with the other peer group. Very successfully, they are overcoming their problems and are one of the major quality that we want to impart in our teachers is to extend double love and affection to such children, right? And even a small progress, if you see in their learning ability, that is a great achievement for the school. This is how we look at all the three schools when it comes to autism children. So this message which has come out from you, you are an expert in this field. All this will go in a long way along with our push, so that with confidence my teacher has to scientifically adopt suitable pedagogy, so that even these children are not neglected. They are given space for learning, to share their responsibility and slowly progress in the path of growth, so that you will find that such families, especially from father and mother, if you can bring a smile on their face and a happiness in the family, and later if these children can stand on their own and start yearning, what more a school can offer. So as a dean, I am so happy, Parthiban sir. Please do share more information from your side, which will be a great input for my teacher, principals, including for me, so that let our school be heaven for all the three categories of students: high achievers, mediocre, and including my late bloomers. But very clear message from me: no, when a child is born in this world, this is the creation of Almighty. He knows when this flower has to bloom. We are all here as factors, instrument to push it forward so that the blossoming takes place at appropriate time. Some bloom very fast, some little later, some little more later, but still every flower will blossom. It will give fragrance. It will bring joy, not only for them, for the society. And with this mission, let us all work together and make this Autism Week a very meaningful week, is what my message on this occasion. Thank you very much. Please do continue, Parthiban sir. All our prayers to you and your family. May the Lord give you good health and a very long life so that your service should continue for the society. Back to Principal Madam.
Thank you so much, Dean. It really means much. Going ahead, Dr. Parthiban, there's a question which has come. My old student, one child is very brilliant, but he can't deliver anything since he can't speak properly. Now he completes his grade 5 and he's not allowed to join grade 6. And he's able to write only with the help of his teacher. So how do you think he can pursue his studies, his higher studies?
First, I would like to thank the Dean sir. He was so kind to say those very, very kindful words actually. When along with the Principal ma'am and the Dean sir, I'm sure most of the children with autism can benefit from the Hindustan group of schools. Thank you very much, sir. Thanks. Yeah, answering to the question now. So, I mean, writing is a challenge for many of the children with autism because of their fine motor coordination is not very adequate in terms. So these days, if the writing is not going to be worked, we can make it with the typing, which is relatively very easier for more children actually. And even if they cannot type, then they can just say. If they cannot say, they can write or they can type. So these are the things like, we call it as high functioning devices, which we use for children with autism. So that really works. And the other thing is like testing them and educating them, not just with the writing, but also like choosing from 4 answers or underlining the answers, circling the answers. These things will also help them to go a very long way. And many people who have passed medical exams, they have passed this way. Very high skilled people in big Western universities. So it will be very good, if we can also keep inventing, keep learning, or keep applying the new ways of testing them, new ways of educating them. That will be a fantastic opportunity for both the parties.
Thank you so much, sir. So we have another question from Uma P. Some students with autism are really good in drawing or singing or other than academics, as you said. In Western countries, we do have opportunities in school to develop that areas and give professional touch in that area. But how far is it possible here? Many parents also feel this is not going to take them anywhere. So the parents also want them child to take up subjects which they are not interested in learn. So how to curb this problem?
See, that is very much possible at this contemporary times. 10 years before, I don't say so. But now people are not, I'm sure the parents are not only looking at children becoming doctors or engineers. So they want to see their children happy and successful. So that is very common with the new age parents. I'm sure about it. I hope Principal ma'am also agree with me. That is why people are coming to Hindustan school. Otherwise they should go to some some very only academic schools, right? There are some schools in Chennai, they focus only on academics. I don't want to name them, but nowadays people want the children to be very happy, very functional, very productive, and very fulfilling in their lives. So that is I know a boy called Kedar who is like 19-year-old. He was from Chennai, now in Hyderabad. He passed his 10th, 12th and stuff like that. But now he's a fantastic artist. I have never seen one artist like him. So, and the parents, I would say all the credit goes to the parents because they let him be like that. How he has displayed his artworks in Dubai amidst the pandemic times too. So I would say this is a time, contemporary time is the best time for trying and succeeding in the alternative skills in arts, music, sports, whatever. And there are children who are very good photographers, children with autism, because they can see what we cannot see with our
What we
eyes.
cannot see.
So, and then there are children who are very good tea tasters, coffee tasters, chocolate tasters, because their sense of taste will not fool them. You know, they know how to pick the best among it. Like Greta, whom I have said this morning. So this is the best time for that, you know, than the previous times.
Very interesting, doctor. When you speak of such episodes in such children, there's one thought which comes to my mind, that God never makes mistakes. So every child is a success. And that goes with the philosophy of our school, our founder chairman's message when he said, every child is a success, no child a failure. So all these thoughts put together, it only amplifies to the fact that, there is a space and a time for every child to blossom and be successful in this world. And all that we as teachers and parents have to do is to facilitate that kind of an environment with the underlying principle of love and affection. That's it. Yes.
That's all
Supraja,
needed.
I think we'll take one last question from Bhagyashree before you could wrap up the session. Supraja, over to you, dear.
Yes, so there's one last question. So this is about creating awareness on regular students when there's an autistic child in the class. She has a situation as well. So I had a kid in class a couple of years ago, and some kids weren't sensitive of his presence. I would like to know how to create nurturing environment. These were children in the cusp of teenage. Probably creating a simulation of autistic world can create awareness, sir. So that's a question.
So how do we create an awareness amongst other children about the autistic ones?
So I always, what I believe is creating awareness does not come when they are in the teenagers. It has to be started sometime earlier actually, because by teenagers and everybody will be very ambitious by that time. So then there is no time for the general teenagers to be more kind or more understanding, because you cannot expect a teenager to be understanding.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So that is that part of life has to be little selfish times. That is where they're establishing their identity. And I would say the understanding part, nourishing part has to start little earlier actually than the teenagers.
So at the end of it matters that we teachers are prepared and prepare the environment and ourselves for all kinds of children.
So that's the success. Yeah.
Yes. Supraja, do we have any more questions or any more confusing things to ask Dr. Parthiban about?
I think, there's a lot of questions, but we'll be done with this, ma'am. So that will be
Dr.
the last
Parthiban, if we have any questions, probably we could mail it to you so that we get to have our questions being answered. And in the coming months or days, if there's a possibility that you could come and address us, of course, when the times are better and, things are more feasible, it'll definitely be a great honor and kind of a knowledge sharing session to have you over, address all of us and prepare us to handle the children better.
It would be a very good opportunity for me also to reach out to all, ma'am. And the other thing is I always like to work with teachers, because they only can make a difference, women, because we all have huge regards for teachers. We all are teachers' products.
Yes.
So, anyway, so I feel this is a very special opportunity given to me. In future, if there is any query or any support from our side in terms of a child or any help, please feel free to contact us, and we are there for that. And please include us in your mission. Thank you very much. Thanks for this opportunity.
Definitely, Doctor. Supraja, would you like to say anything? Since she's our student counselor, I think she'll be more emphatic and, kind of more empowered to say on these things, especially when we have her on board. And she's been wonderful handling in all our children, so believe me when I say it. Youngsters these days coming up to be counselors and coming us to help in the process of educating our children, it really means much.
Thank you, ma'am. So I think from the session as a whole, it was very enlightening, sir. Thank you so much for the session. And, sharing your thoughts, indeed, it was an eye-opener. So once again, I would like to thank you to taking your time of your busy schedule in engaging us. So from our Hindustan group, wishing you all the best in the future endeavors, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you,
Dr. Parthiban. Thank you much. Thank you, Principal Radha ma'am, Susan ma'am, Dean sir, and all my teachers. I hope we are at least little better equipped to handle children, more happy and more cheerful in the coming days. So thank you very much, everyone. Wishing everybody a great day ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.